Catherine Bearder, Liberal Democrat MEP for the South East. Over the years, the EU has banned many types of pesticides. Have they gone too far?
No, we have to work on a precautionary principle, and we are now finding evidence with some that are damaging the bees and the other pollinating insects. So we have to be very careful about what we allow.
I mean, farming, the farmers in this report, and it's a report that's commissioned by the NFU, they say that taking the precautionary principle, which is a kind of an EU buzz term, but it means acting really on the cautious side, is too cautious. They say that there should be more awareness of what the science says, and that the impact of these bans isn't taken properly into account. What do you say to that?
Well, it's a case of balancing up, and that's what politics is all about, is balancing the science with the need for food. And the farmers clearly have a desire to produce the food and make a profit from that. What we have a duty to is protect the environment. So it's a case of balancing up what we permit that does not harm the environment, or whether you want perfectly round apples without a blemish. And I think there is somewhere in between. I think we can protect the environment as producing the food. It may not be as perfect as it is now, or the crops may not be as heavy as they are now. But good husbandry cannot be allowed to slip while we just use the quick fix chemical method of controlling weeds and pests.
Is that balance right? Is the EU getting it right, the balance between the environment and food production?
We're trying to. Sometimes we might overstep the mark, and sometimes we can relax slightly, but that's why we need to do the science. It has to be science based, and that's why with the bees and the neonicotinoids, there was evidence coming forward that they were harming the bees and other flying insects. So we've put a brake on those for 2 or 3 years till the science has caught up with us. So you have to be precautionary. It's no point killing off all the insects because then we'll have no apples and no crops anyway. So we have to protect and move together. But it is balancing those two needs of the environment and the food production.
This report estimates that if things continue in the same kind of way, that if there are more bans ahead, maybe 40 and more chemicals banned is what they're predicting, that it could eventually lead to a situation where it will be impossible to produce apples, for example, which are very important in your constituency, commercially, that farmers just wouldn't be able to do that anymore. Is that what you'd like for the sake of the environment?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, we have wonderful apples that have been produced for centuries in this country without pesticides. Now we've tried to scale up and demand more and more from the environment, and it may not be that we can produce quite so much, but if we're doing it in harmony with our environment, certainly that is better. As the farmers say to me, don't keep taking all the tools out of the toolbox, but if you've got the wrong tools in the toolbox, you could be doing more damage than not. We need to have the right tools in that toolbox. The farmers need to be working in cooperation with nature, and we need to be making sure that they can do that without damaging the environment.
What about when you take a pesticide off the market? Do you think farmers consider enough the alternatives rather than just trying to go for the next chemical that's available to them, which might be their kind of reflex?
Clearly many farmers do, and they understand and care for the environment just as much as all the rest of us do. But it can lead to quick fixes, and that's what we must do. We shouldn't be at the point of having to take things off the market. We should make sure they are safe before they come onto the market, and that means more research before things are released into the environment. That means more funding for research, and the UK is Europe's biggest recipient of research funding, and that's what I hope that we're doing. We are able to do that research before we release things into the market, and that the farmers become reliant on it.
The report says that there is an impact on jobs of taking these pesticides off the market. If the evidence suggests that the environment is being damaged, are you prepared to call for these bans and force these bans if you know that the result is going to be the loss of jobs in your constituency?
Well, it's loss of jobs. When I grew up on a farm, everybody in the village worked on that farm and where they were all involved in it. Now you have farms as big as 1,000 acres with 1 or 2 people. So it's actually replaced, a lot of these modern technologies have replaced people. Maybe if we went back to actually doing more working with nature, we can actually have more people working on the land. That would be better for jobs. But it doesn't have to be either or. We have to work with the environment. We cannot damage in the long term soil structure, the pollinating insects, the birds and everything else that go to maintain the whole life-giving forces of our planet. So farmers need to work with that and need to produce the food and need to make a living from it, and that is where we need to have that balance.